let's get straight into it. We're going to walk through the clinical protocol for managing bee sting and envenomation.
Okay, here's our roadmap. We'll cover 5 key sections following the clinical workflow from patient presentation all the way to disposition. All right, section 1. First things first, you have to understand how these stings actually cause harm. There are 2 main ways this happens, and knowing the difference tells you a lot about how your patient will present. So here are the 2 pathways. On one side, you have anaphylaxis. This is an immunoglobulin E-mediated allergic reaction. The key thing here is that it's independent of the sting count. A single sting can be fatal. On the other side, you have systemic toxicity. This is a direct, dose-dependent effect from the venom itself. Here we're talking about cases with dozens, sometimes even hundreds of stings. So how will your patient look? We can group the signs into 3 buckets. First, the expected local effects: immediate pain, redness, and that classic wheel and flare reaction. Second, you need to be on the lookout for allergic or anaphylactic signs, like urticaria, wheezing, throat tightness, hypotension, and tachycardia. And third, with massive envenomation, watch for systemic toxicity. This is where you might see vomiting, diarrhea, central nervous system depression, and it can even progress to rhabdomyolysis or acute renal failure. Okay, next up, initial patient management. What do you do first? Your first moves are fundamental. Of course, you start with the ABCs: airway, breathing, and circulation. Then get that stinger out. And how you do it really matters. You want to scrape it off with something like a credit card or a fingernail. Do not grasp and pull it, because that will just squeeze more venom into the patient. Finally, if there are a lot of stings on one limb, immobilize it to help slow down the venom absorption. So, is there a threshold number of stings to watch for? Yes. If you estimate more than 50 stings, that's your trigger. That patient needs immediate referral to a healthcare facility for a full evaluation, because the risk of systemic toxicity is just too high. Now, for the most life-threatening complication: anaphylaxis and shock treatment. And let's be absolutely clear about this. Epinephrine is the first-line drug for anaphylaxis. It is not an option, it's the required treatment. There's no substitute. The treatment sequence has 4 main steps. 1. Administer 100% oxygen and secure the airway. 2. Give intravenous epinephrine. 3. If there's hypotension, start a rapid intravenous fluid bolus. And 4. Administer both H1 and H2 antihistamine blockers. Using both types is important to fully block the systemic effects of histamine release. Now for the dosing. For an adult, intravenous epinephrine is 3 to 5 milliliters of a 1 to 10,000 solution. Diphenhydramine is 25 to 50 milligrams, either IV or by mouth. Cimetidine is 300 milligrams, IV. And for pediatric patients, just remember that the dosing is weight-based. Moving on. Beyond anaphylaxis, there are several adjunctive treatments for managing specific symptoms. These therapies are all about targeting specific problems. For urticaria and itching, you'll use diphenhydramine. For local pain and swelling, go with ice packs and either NSAIDs, nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, or parenteral narcotics if needed. And if your patient has a bronchospasm, the standard protocol is nebulized albuterol. And here's a quick but important note. You might hear about using meat tenderizer, which contains the enzyme papain, on stings. This is a common folk remedy, but it is not a proven or recommended treatment. Stick to the evidence. And that brings us to our final section: disposition and follow-up care. When can the patient safely go home? The discharge criteria are straightforward. For asymptomatic patients in the emergency department, a 4-hour observation period is recommended to watch for any delayed reactions. For inpatients, they can be discharged once all systemic toxic effects have fully resolved. Now, to ensure good outcomes, there are 3 common pitfalls you really want to avoid. First, failing to recognize the early signs of airway compromise. This can be catastrophic. Second, not treating anaphylaxis aggressively enough. And third, forgetting the discharge plan. You must provide a discharge prescription and an allergy referral.